how we treat ourselves is usually like one of the worst things. How we treat other people, how we treat the planet, it's all related. It's just like, how do we treat beings or entities, I would say. So we got a ways to go.
Yeah.
But I think we all know how. It's just peeling through what isn't us.
Right.
And shedding that so that we can remember, our natural state.
Welcome to Harmonic Alignment, a podcast that explores the new frontier of energy medicine, bridging the gap between Western medicine and quantum physics, giving you easy and practical solutions. Guided by me, Dr. Larissa Sharipova, and me, Priscilla Koblenz. Join us on a journey discovering your harmonic alignment. On today's episode of Harmonic Alignment, Tyler K, or Tyler Kruszewski. Tyler is a dear friend, and I'm just going to warn you now, I talk too much, and Tyler has so much wisdom that we're going to have him back multiple times. His wisdom is in his presence, and it's such a gift for this planet. Tyler is an herbalist and a land steward at revivingwisdom.com. His life mission is to enable harmonious, respectful relationships on Earth. He works with community groups, private landowners, nonprofits, and most importantly, nature herself to create habitat and improve biodiversity. Tyler's a seed keeper, and he cultivates rare and endangered native plants in southeastern Pennsylvania. He regularly leads plant walks, classes, and apprenticeships to empower people to connect with the land they live on. Tyler has a degree from Drexel University. He studied anthropology, philosophy, and ecological sciences. He started his career as an ecological researcher and has spent more than 15 years making research accessible to the public to empower positive change. He's a fellow of the Sierra Club and has worked in many direct action conservation groups such as Fen Free, Sea Shepherd, and the United Nations to achieve ecological goals. Tyler's completed the land stewardship training program at the Horn Farm Center and has apprenticed with ethnobotanists, herbalists, and indigenous wisdom keepers around the world. This is truly one of the coolest humans I've ever met. Tyler, I'm just grateful to call a friend, and he has events coming up. I hope you will follow him on Instagram and check out his website. He is just a treasure. Enjoy.
I am so excited today. I am here with a good friend, Tyler Kruszewski, or Tyler K, as we say. Tyler, I'm trying to think how we first met. We first met through some friends.
Yeah.
And you are a man who's led 1,000 lives, because I think I met you were involved in like software, more the tech side. Mm-hmm. But then I initially also met you as an herbalist, and you worked with herbs and plants to help people heal. How did that happen?
Good question. I don't know if I have the answer. I guess being born on Earth.
that counts. Yes.
Rolling around in grass.
Rolling around the grass. You're right. You knew early on that nature was part of who you were.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful.
Nature was always my safe space, my play space, my home. I'm going around my neighborhood, scratching and sniffing all the different plants. I always like to nibble on them. And
oh my gosh, you were curious from the day you were born.
Oh yeah.
I love it. So you were never afraid to, put that plant in your mouth?
No. And it's funny because it comes up a lot today when people talk about poisonous plants and things. And I'm always like, it's not that poisonous.
I did that.
Yeah.
I survived.
Like yew berries. The signature poison plant, like big red berries.
Right.
That people are always taught, stay away from them.
Okay.
They're poisonous. But when I was a kid, they were my favorite. And I would squeeze the seed out and there was like a little bit of flesh around. I'd throw the skin away and just kind of suck on the seed.
Okay.
So I wasn't eating the seed and I wasn't eating the skin.
Okay.
And it was very calming. Yeah. And I would have like little tidbits of wisdom and thing flowing into my brain. And
you were going early on plant medicine journeys as a kid.
Yeah. And it's funny because I recently looked this up because
okay.
It came up in conversation and I'm like, I wonder, because I don't work with you as a medicine really.
Right.
And sure enough, there's a ton of studies about the glycosides and different chemicals in the yew berry
Really?
being very therapeutic on the cardiovascular system. So,
Wow.
like anything, it can be poison or medicine. It probably depends on the dosage and how it's prepared and all that. Yeah.
And even how receptive you are to receiving it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you sounds like you were running around like a little wild child in the beginning. So
Yeah.
you were in nature. Where were you finding nature at?
A couple of different places. My family's all from Philly, so we went back in the Wissahickon and
Okay.
a lot of Manayunk Roxborough lineage.
Okay.
And one of my godmothers and her husband and family lived in the Northeast, so Pennypack.
Okay.
He would always take me out. He was a big naturalist.
Beautiful.
And then in North Wales, it was pre-Merck days. There was thousands and thousands of acres of forest before it was developed into Merck's global headquarters. So
You used to go out and play in the forest.
oh yeah.
I love it. One of the things that you've done on my property is a land stewardship class, which I think is so cool. Like anyone who has some property and some acreage, it's a great idea to learn what are the native plants in your area, what's growing on your property, so you understand how to take care of it. Or more importantly, you've taught me about invasive plants and the need to kind of rectify that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So it's interesting. I always think about things very long term. So
yeah, Tyler doesn't think in 6 months increments. He thinks like 100+ years from now.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
7 generations.
7 generations, forwards and backwards.
Or more. Yeah. So how native plants are relevant today is the millions and millions of years of relationships that they have. As humans came from Europe a couple hundred years ago, they brought plants from Europe as well. But those plants from Europe don't have the same relationships that the plants that were here before have from millions of years of evolution. So the birds and the insects and things that are also indigenous to this land won't be able to interact with them the same way. So they get a little bit less value. And one way to kind of embody that is if you have a plant that has flowers on it, a butterfly might come and be attracted to those flowers and might be able to drink the nectar, but that's not the whole food web or even the whole life cycle of the butterfly. So that butterfly needs to lay eggs somewhere, and the eggs need to hatch. The larvae, the caterpillars need to eat leaves. And that's really where the critical point of a lot of the food web is raising young. So a plant that's not from here, the butterfly might be tempted to lay their eggs on, but when the babies hatch and start eating the plant, it might be poisonous to them or not have the right nutrition. So then their line kind of dies out.
And so when we get non-native plants in the environment, the damage that it does, not just to the soil, but it's to all of the native wildlife, the insects in particularly. And those insects dying out or having problems leads to even larger populations of animals down the food chain.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did this journey of, you started in your childhood of your love of nature, your love of plants, but then you've also, you use that to help people. So it was really like you're a healer. So how did that journey of then connecting humans to the plants come for you?
Sure. So when I was probably like 14, I started training for emergency medical services and volunteer firefighting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So by the time I was 16, I was actually allowed to run calls. Just kind of saw like the Western medical system very firsthand, being a first responder. Interestingly, sometimes you're people's primary care.
Wow. Because they don't have access or knowledge or.
Yeah. Calling 911 is not cheaper necessarily, but if they don't have insurance or a doctor or a family really supporting them in their healthcare journey, some people would just be like kind of alone. And
Okay. So you saw a lot.
yeah. So saw a lot and was interested in continuing that kind of healthcare healer journey into college. Studied biological sciences, was in all the same medical school classes in a lot of the cases, but learned a lot about that realm that was unsettling to me, to say the least.
I mean, I guess when you started studying it all, you realized they had taken native plants, you know, for pretty much every major medication they're selling is a natural plant derivative to begin with.
Yeah. And I remember one of my professors sharing that stat. It was like 70% of prescription drugs came from a plant. And I was like, oh. So then I kind of went down this rabbit
You're like,
hole.
70% of this is natural? Then why are we using natural alternatives?
Right.
Why are we paying someone else for something that's growing in nature?
Yeah. And at the time, I already had dabbled a lot, I would say, in the alternative medicine realms. I was working with Sea Shepherd at the time, which was a big ocean nonprofit.
Okay.
Doing great ocean conservation work across the world. And one of our donors, Ross Heaven, was a really cool guy. And he became my first like human teacher, I would say.
Really?
For a really structured practice around herbal medicine and plant spirit medicine.
Well, tell me more about this wise elder in your life. So he started this foundation, or he's working with it?
He was just a donor, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
And a volunteer. And he lived in Spain at the time, and he grew up in Wales.
Okay.
And in his village in Wales, there was still a traditional Welsh healer.
Wow.
Probably one of the last, if not the last.
Okay.
So he grew up in Wales, a little boy. There was this like shady little shack at the edge of town with all these overgrown weeds and things.
Oh my gosh,
like
it
that.
sounds like the witch that lives in town that everyone goes to, like the secretly. They're like, this is where the good stuff is.
Exactly, yeah. So he was always told as a kid, don't go near there. Yeah, like a witch lives there or whatever. But he was curious and he thought the gardens, I think, were beautiful. So he would always go play in there. And he ended up coming up with this relationship with this healer, this man who, I guess they called them sin eaters within the Catholic context. So the way that lineage had survived, and their main kind of surviving practice was at funerals, you would pay the sin eater to come and basically eat the sins of the person so they can go
cross over to the afterlife.
Yeah, and make sure they kind of go into heaven and release their sins and whatnot. But then they also treated that person like a leper. Because
they needed it, but they wanted to distance themselves from someone with that kind of capacity.
Yeah, and that whole practice was like, oh, they're eating the sins, so they're dirty. The whole concept is this person knows how to transmute that energy. And
I was going to say, what they're doing is if that person had led a troubled life or had a lot of issues energetically, they may not be crossing over to the next plane.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would come and they were doing prayers to help lead that soul to the light.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
They call them Sini. It's so interesting. We were finding that out all over the world. Everybody has a version of it. They just use different language around it.
Exactly.
Okay, so you got to hang out with this guy who had studied with a Sin Eater.
Yeah. And it goes way beyond there. Like the Sin Eater guy was an herbalist and a ceremonialist, and all the townspeople were secretly coming to him. So as he studied with him throughout the years, he got to witness that work. When his teacher passed away, he kind of had this message come to him of, wait, he was the last one. What the heck? So his life mission became actually going around the world and finding more people like that in other cultures, and
that's fascinating.
Having their lineages transition to him and like making pacts with them to try to keep it alive. And he ended up writing books and things like that.
Basically to help continue healers who were connected with the earth, with nature, in all these cultures so that it didn't die out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So keeping the wisdom traditions alive.
That's beautiful.
Making
Making sure the elders had passed down their information.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. How beautiful.
Yeah.
What a cool soul to connect with.
Yeah.
And well, you had to have an old soul to connect with that.
So I think I grew up like I was exposed to the Catholic Church, exposed to the Lutheran Church, exposed to the witchy people in the church. In Roman Catholic, especially like the Irish folk were super pagan at the same time.
Pagan to me means connected with nature.
Like using herbs and altars and things like that for their spiritual work.
Doing things at harvest time that were, like you said, ritualistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were, I think, surviving traditions that were being kept alive through the people.
Tyler, what are some of the things when you are talking to clients about whether or not they're ready to go on a ceremony journey? What are your suggestions to see if someone's ready?
Sure. If it's not a yes, then it's a no. And you can always change your yes to a no at any moment. leading up to the ceremony, we do make an agreement at ceremony time, especially if there's plant medicine, that if it's a yes at that point, like before drinking medicine or something, then we're committing to the end of the ceremony in a specific way.
Right.
They don't have to do anything. Like they can just lay down,
But you're in the space. You
Yeah,
hold space.
to make sure that they're safe and
Right.
someone can watch over them and everything. But yeah, I think it's an inner knowing that people have. Different plants call different people. It's interesting because a lot of people, I think, are addicted to those heavy emotions
Wow.
because they can feel familiar.
Yeah. Well, they're like a warm blanket for some people because it's like, it's essentially become their default programming that, oh, this is how I feel love. I have to have a trauma connected to feel love. So I need to have someone screaming at me so I get my love cup full.
Right.
And that's so sad. But if they're not able to even recognize it, then they're not ready to let it go.
There's people who have sat through a whole ceremony and I can see the whole thing unfolding and they like are not ready to let go or whatnot.
They're not ready to let go.
I'm not going to force it.
Like there's a part of them that's like, oh, yeah, I should do this. But there's a part of them that's in such resistance.
Yeah.
I had heard you can resist all of it. You can choose to. It doesn't matter how much medicine you take, right?
I would disagree.
Okay.
So it's a funny story. So Ross, he used to say to me, for instance, with a certain type of mushroom medicine, he'd be like, anything less than 5 grams and you're not going anywhere.
Okay.
Which is a lot.
I was going to say, right, standard is 3 grams, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 3 grams is definitely a hefty dose. So that was a big part of my process of being trained from an older generation that's still very kind of male dominated in a lot of ways. Even if it's a woman, like I would say like the kind of masculine, heavy-handed culture, like, you could talk to like anybody's mom or grandma, like
right.
beating with the stick or the nettles, is more and more common the further you go back.
Yeah.
So that kind of heavy-handedness, definitely a lot of that was taught to me as well. And I always kind of question that, being like a younger generation that's bridging to the future.
Right.
So the way I describe it now is that, and I do think he was onto something. I think less than 5 grams, like 3 grams and whatnot, from what I've observed, people still can resist and their ego can still be in the driver's seat and all of that. I have a lot of tools and structure I work with so that people can find healing even without drinking any medicine.
Yes.
At all.
Yes.
So that's what I focus on.
Yeah.
Like the goal is for everyone to have already done the healing basically, so that when we're drinking the medicine, we just have fun.
Right.
And explore our spirituality and our consciousness and things. But anything 5 grams or above, I would say, I personally don't know someone who could fight that.
Fight that at that level. Okay,
You're just not, you leave your body basically, and then the plant teacher is doing the healing and you're just kind of receiving at that point. And it's a lot harder to even rationalize or even talk about. It just kind of happens and flows. I would say that's my take on the...
No, that's beautiful. It's something, to determine if you're ready, you're being called, and then calling in the right facilitator, the right guides. You'll know when and where. I always come back to the same lesson that I've had to learn a lot. I just learned it again, is that no one outside of you is the authority for you. And I think that we're here kind of to master our own version of discernment and what my soul is calling in, my divinity, my connection to source, God. But most of the time we look around us and we stick our finger out and go, oh, there's someone over there. There's so much more of an expert at everything. And I don't care if I think it goes back to the white coat kind of thing. Well, they have a white coat, so that means they must know more than me. And it's almost comical at this point how many times I've learned that lesson from the universe. I'm like, really? You're going to give away your sovereign power, your own knowingness about what's your next step, what you're calling in to somebody outside of you. Yeah. It's just ludicrous at this point.
Yeah.
But yet,
I love that.
We need those reminders, because every time you forget, recently for myself, we had hired some people to help us with marketing and tech and management of stuff. And again, they're the experts. They're going to know how to run Facebook ads. And it was the wrong messaging because it wasn't my authentic voice. Yeah. It was the generic message that they thought would be more successful, which wasn't what I wanted to call in. So.
Well, you done with that then?
I really want to be done with it, Tyler. I want to just check in now.
Yeah.
I think all decisions and any guidance you have for people with that, like how do we check in to know, have the discernment to know what is for our highest good?
Mm-hmm. I think it's that relationship with ourselves that you're describing, like making the time to check in and really feel in to our body, all of our bodies, so our physical body, our emotional body, our spiritual body.
The issue is it's only to the level that you learn to love yourself, right?
Yeah.
And because the moment you don't think you're valuable is the moment you give your power away to someone else. And you can only attract the level of love in your life that you're willing to give and receive, right? That was another conversation that came up this week, is the amount of that you give is the only equivalent to the amount that you're willing to receive. And anytime it's out of balance, then you're actually hurting everyone in the field and the whole universe. Like there's something to it that's so not healthy for not just you, but everything around you.
It's kind of just where we're at across the world, unfortunately, in relationships. So how we treat ourselves is usually like one of the worst things. How we treat other people, how we treat the planet, it's all related. It's just like, how do we treat beings or entities, I would say. So we got a ways to go.
Yeah.
But I think we all know how. It's just peeling through what isn't us.
Right.
And shedding that so that we can remember, our natural state.
And somehow that goes for you, which you've always known, is it goes back to nature.
Yeah.
And it hit me that there's only two truths in the world. It's like nature and music. I'm like, duh.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it took me so long to get there, but everything else is just an illusion. It all comes when it's supposed to come, I guess.
Yeah.
And I had that realization within 12 hours, my house burned down. And so it was just like, huh. And I remember as I'm watching my house burned down a month ago today. I did this interview. And I remember as I'm watching the house, and there's nothing you can do. I mean, at one point I had the water hose before the fire people got there. I'm in my pajamas and I'm spraying it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to save my house. And it's kind of comical a little bit. But then, it's a fire and, they want you to get away. The house could explode. I mean, there's all these reasons where you shouldn't get too close to the fire. And I'm watching it in the distance and I'm going, wow, why is this happening? Did I call transformation in on some level? There's a death happening. Right? I mean, there's a death of what I thought. You can cry and weep over memories or things, right? But then you realize it's just things. And I was like, man, if I can separate myself from that, I'm just up-leveled spiritually.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know that I needed my house burned down to realize that, but I'm like, there's nothing on the end that'll ever be satisfying about owning something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Stuff just doesn't matter. And if you still think it does, then lose it all. And then you realize it doesn't.
I would say your house burning down is a 5 gram and above dose.
I got the hero dose.
Strong dose.
I like strong dose. Oh. Yeah, there had to be a surrender. Like you were forced to surrender at that point because there's literally nothing you can do as you're watching it happen. I was like, wow. I wish that for no one, but I also am grateful. And I was holding this space of being curious and thinking, oh, what's going to happen on the other side of this? Because something, whether it's, and there already has been little God moments, little miracles. You yourself came and helped support. You gave me some incredible herbs to help with my nervous system. Because I do, you're like in fight or flight for that first week. And so thank you for that. So you were one of my God moments, my miracle moments. You are working in so many different ways to help people. So whether it's the stewardship of the land, or whether it's one-on-one with clients, assessing like their herbal and nutrition, but you're also working energetically in the spirit realms. How do people find you, and what do you recommend to get started working with you if they're feeling called?
I have a website. It's called revivingwisdom.com.
Revivingwisdom.com. I love that. We're bringing what's old is new, or new is old. And yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. It's so funny to me. Like the realizations you mentioned, like just coming back to nature and things like that, that two-sided meaning of we need to revive the wisdom. Mm-hmm. It's already in us. We've learned it even intergenerationally, like our parents and grandparents have passed it on to us. We have this inner knowing that comes even packaged in our DNA. And there's so many beings out there that are still teaching us, like the animals and the
Ancestors.
Ancestors, yes. So reviving wisdom, and yeah, I have a contact form on there. The Herbwise on Instagram, so you can find me there as well. I post workshops, I post like events and things when they happen. I have an apprenticeship program, and I'm always looking to give back like all the wisdom I have received from my teachers and experiences. I've always known that I need to give that back as well. So I love entering new communities and circles and bringing those offerings. I love when folks invite me to like their house or their yoga studio or church or whatever it is to come and host a workshop or do a talk or collaborate. So always open to those things as well.
Beautiful. You mentioned teachers. Besides the one teacher you've mentioned, is there another teacher that's really in your heart right now that shared a lot of wisdom?
So today, actually, I'm going to go hang out with Amy Mermaid Isikoff. Okay. She lives in Fort Washington, and Ben McSteffen as well. And Amy apprenticed me in the Pachacuti Mesa tradition, along with Don Oscar Miro Quesada, who's the originator of that tradition. So that's like a surviving wisdom lineage. Don Oscar basically apprenticed with two indigenous Peruvian folks with different lineages, made the agreement to keep them alive by bringing them outside of the village and anywhere in the world, really. And he combined them into one. Amy is one of his proteges who's local. So actually, when Ross passed away, I think I grieved for a little bit, and then I don't know how long it took, but whenever I got over that, it was like, okay, but I want a human teacher, because I have all these non-human teachers, like my plants, my animal friends, my ancestors, things like that. But it gets lonely to have the vocabulary to even talk about these things. You need like a physical person. So I was like, all right, well, I want a human teacher again. And I think like the next day, somehow I was connected with Amy.
Beautiful.
Yeah. After that, for a while, I wanted a lineage that from my kind of physical DNA, like people of the North, like Northern Europe, Western Europe, somehow found Ben, who is my Druid mentor and teacher.
Okay.
So.
Oh, Tyler, thank you for sharing that. I think that to know that's possible, that you can call in the wisdom, and if you're on that path, to look for those guides and teachers. They've been such a huge part of my life, and I wouldn't be sitting here today without the teachers and guides that have come along. And now you're helping guide others. You know, you've been called to guide others. I also wanted to mention that if you're looking for a host for a cacao ceremony, Tyler and his lineage of teaching with how you described the cacao plant and its sacred beauty as medicine was such a beautiful ceremony. We had it on my farm, and it was just magical. And so that's such a special ceremony that you do for people to help them connect with, you know, cacao is chocolate, right? So don't we all call in some great wisdom of that. Do you have any events coming up?
I just came out of planting season, so it's been,
you've been busy.
Yeah. And I probably need to schedule things further out, but yeah, I have Lunasa is the next public event.
So, Tyler, I'd love to ask this question. If you had the opportunity to speak to every soul on the planet, what is some wisdom that you feel like every soul needs to know right now?
I would say no matter what genetic or lineage or anything you come from, no matter where in the planet you live, Earth being our home, I would encourage everyone to, no matter what the relationship with the place they live, just really prioritize that as if they were your husband or wife. You probably already know the place you live pretty well, but like just making the space to really enjoy and soak that in, and treating the land really like your home outside of your physical house, and getting to know all the arms, legs, pieces of hair, the personalities.
Oh, that's beautiful wisdom. Then the other question we love to ask is, what does harmonic alignment mean to you?
I think like the word harmony and harmonic to me definitely carries a sonic sound. I'm definitely a sound person connect to a lot of things through sounds and vibrations. And I love harmonies. Like one of my favorite things to do is to sing harmonies with folks and make up improv harmonies. And I'll even do it with the birds, which is funny because not all bird songs are what a human might think of like harmonically. It's not a pop song. It's not a pop hook. It can be a little off key. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I think the idea of collaboration with other entities and finding harmony within that diversity and unity within that diversity is one of my favorite things to do. And alignment being, make sure you're doing that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you for coming. I know we could cover so many more things. I'm just so grateful to have you today. Thank you.
Likewise, it's been so much fun. Hopefully we'll do more. And I'm so glad that you're doing this podcast and holding space for all the talented, kind, compassionate, amazing folks that you know. So, and we get to get a glimpse of you too.
All good. All good.
I know. Next time I'm going to start a podcast just so I can interview you more.
I would love that. I would love that.
Be sure to follow Tyler K on Instagram at The Herb Wise. That's TheHerbWise. Tyler has an amazing event coming up on August 2nd from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. It's Lunasa Dance Day Retreat in Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. What an incredible opportunity to spend time with some incredible souls doing healing work on the planet. Be sure to check it out. Are you ready for your Energy for Life bioenergetic nest scan? Dr. Larissa Sharapova and myself, Priscilla Koblenz, offer personal, private, 90-minute consults to get you back to optimal health and well-being. For more details, visit the show notes or check out harmonicalignment.co. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Harmonic Alignment. If something resonated with you, we would love to hear about it. Please consider leaving us a 5-star review and subscribing so you don't miss an upcoming episode. Thank you. The information contained in this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider. Carefully read all labels and directions. The products and information received through the podcast should not be used to replace a consultation or advice from your healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem or have any healthcare questions, please promptly call your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Dr. Larissa Sharapova and Priscilla Koblenz and the producers, are not responsible for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained in this podcast. This podcast may contain endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct financial benefit to the product or services referenced.